Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of All Angles. I'm Dion Jackson Miller. We are focusing today on the Nzinga King case. The Director of Public Prosecutions has just handed down her ruling in the matter. She has recommended that the police officers who were involved with Miss King, who alleged that her locks were trimmed while she was in police custody, the recommendations are that those police officers not be charged. We're going to be finding out more about the ruling, and we remind you can tweet along with us. Our hashtag is TVJ All Angles. You can also WhatsApp us 3810072. Thank you so much for talking to us, both of you. So we have the ruling just released. And just to summarize for our listeners and viewers, you've recommended, Madam DPP, that no criminal charges be laid against a female police officer in respect of allegations made by Ms. King involving the removal of her hair. Also, that no criminal charges be laid against the male police officer in relation to allegations that Ms. King has made involving assault, occasioning bodily harm, failure to wear a mask in public, disorderly conduct, and abusive language. And you also say that she can go on to take civil remedies, in other words, to sue in relation to her complaints. And you've recommended no investigation regarding Ms. King and the offense of creating public mischief, although you say that is a matter for the police. And you also say you concur with Indicom that there should be a departmental inquiry. Now, looking at the ruling, I'm going straight to paragraph 49, Madam DPP, which seems to be the crux of the matter. The single question, you say, is whether there is sufficient, credible, cogent, and therefore reliable information that a court can act on to say Ms. King's hair was cut by the policewoman in question. And you said the only statement from a person who asserts her hair was cut by the police is Ms. King. Let me ask you to elaborate on that, because on the face of it at least, members of the public might say, but you have an allegation against the police and you have the police denial. Why would you necessarily take Ms. King's word?
Well, remember that each case has to be looked on and assessed according to its particular facts and the relevant law. What is peculiar about this particular matter, and you are correct, in a lot of cases, credibility is for the tribunal of fact. And you can have an allegation made by a single complainant, and that by itself can go to trial. However, in this case, we found in the 4 statements that Ms. King produced to Indicom, at least one could say about 11 very significant inconsistencies or discrepancies on her statements in respect of material aspects. For example, in her first statement, she indicated that when the police first accosted her prior to her arrest for disorderly conduct and abusive language and failure to wear the mask, she placed herself in a taxi with other persons and being pepper sprayed by the police. This account was not only contradicted by the investigating officer, but also by one of her schoolmates who actually was passing by and saw her standing on the roadway. And Miss King pleaded guilty to disorderly conduct and abusive language, but not to failing to wear her mask. And it was as a result of the fines that were not paid, $3,000 or 10 days imprisonment on each count, while she was at the Fort Pass police lockups. There are other discrepancies, even between her mother's statement and her statement, as it relates to something as simple as the fact that she was not fined but imprisoned. Her name, she was trying to make it appear that it was the police who, she told them her correct name, but they refused to record it.
Let me jump
but
in a
all the
minute,
court
though.
documents, because we sent for the court documents, the information, a copy of the court sheet, and everything was there in Candice King. And the only way they could have known is if she had given it to the police and the police had put it on the court documents. But she could always have told the court that she was Nzinga. But there were so many other discrepancies.
Let's go to the crux of them,
witnesses.
if we could, though, Madam
Yes.
DPP, which is this issue of the allegations that her hair had been cut, her locks were
Yes.
cut by the police woman. And in fact, Ms. King had given several interviews, or at least one or two that I heard, in which she described what happened in graphic detail. That the police woman, in fact, she said, cut her hair twice, went back for another scissors, said that her hair hadn't been cut properly, and cut it again. Now, so that really is what we're looking at. Now, to be clear, just before I go to your recommendations, in your legal opinion, you said that, in fact, if this had happened, it would be an offense
Certainly,
of assault.
the offense of assault occasioning bodily harm.
But the issue is, did it happen?
Well, the issue is there sufficient material that comes up to the requisite threshold of credibility that would allow us to put forward a viable case?
So on the
because
one
remember,
hand, you
for the
have-
prosecution, you have to show that you have a reasonable prospect of conviction.
So on the one hand, you have Ms. King's allegations that her hair, her locks were trimmed by the policewoman. On the other hand, you have the statement of the policewoman saying that is
Yes.
not what occurred.
Yes.
But from what I'm seeing here, you also have other statements from eyewitnesses
Persons
denying
who were-
Ms. King's account.
That is so.
Can you elaborate on that for us?
Well, you had statements from other detainees in the lockups who observed her over the period of 2 days.
You said
pulling-
detainees, more than one?
Plural, yes.
Yes. Pulling the locks from her head over the space of the 2 days.
Pulling out her own locks.
That is so, from her head. And 2 police officers, including the female police officer, were made aware of this, according to their statements. And they went to the cell occupied by Ms. King and saw the locks on the ground. There was a first statement which was given to the police because IProbe commenced an investigation, and then Indicom continued it and also did a lot of other things. And she gave a statement to the police saying that the officer cut all the long ones in reference to her locks. But in a subsequent statement to Indicom, she stated that the officer cut my hair that she was holding in a bunch. In a further statement made to Indicom, she says that her hair was cut by the officer from the root. Note that what you have just outlined to us about hearing in perhaps a television interview.
Interview with the gleaner is
With
the
the
one.
gleaner. We did not see anything like that in the statements. And I just want to show you that this is the file. This is the file, because I think some persons out there in TV land, they think that we may just have just 2 papers. This is the file. And this file, we had 26 witness statements and another, perhaps,
Plus the forensic evidence.
18 other documents on file, which include copy of the 4-part station diary, prisoner in custody book, prisoner visit book, extracts from it, audio CD interview with the police officers, photographs taken at the police station, photographs taken on 2 separate days, a copy of her birth certificate, and most importantly, a report from the forensic science and legal medicine. And we also got extracts of the actual court documents that she went to court on. So it was a very thorough exercise on our part.
If I could go to paragraph 30 of your ruling, in which you're quoting one of the eyewitnesses, I assume, saying this particular detainee said on coming into the cell, Candice had her phone and was on a video call with someone telling them the police had cut her hair. The detainee observed at this time that Candice had shoulder-length locks. The back of her locks looked as if it had been cut in a style. And she said later that day, Candy sat down and started to, quote, pop out her hair with her hands. And she took about 2 days to sit down and pick out all the hair. It was not the police lady that cut off the hair, it's she popped them out one by one.
Yes.
So that was instrumental in your decision not to
But it
prosecute?
was one of the issues, because you not only had from the other detainees who were there, but you had accounts of her classmates where she indicated certain things to them.
That she had cut her own hair.
In fact, one of them, a female, indicated that she had spoken to Miss King, who had previously spoken of plans to cut her hair approximately 1 week prior to the incident. After the incident, she heard her say, "What is not this? Look how me cut me hair and can't comb it." So what we have done, Mrs. Jackson Miller, is extract directly from the statements of the witnesses to put in our ruling so that one can see what is it that we would have to consider. Now remember that when a matter is going to go to court, we have to disclose all of the material that is on file. And remember that the standard is not only proof beyond a reasonable doubt, but we have to be able to see on paper that we would have a reasonable prospect of conviction.
We heard you say, when asked a couple weeks ago about the ruling, you said you were awaiting a critical report on forensic evidence. What
Yes.
was that?
What had happened sometime very late last year, I think possibly November, December, Indicom had sent some of the locks that had been found.
Stay tuned. We're just going to go to a break. We'll be right back.